The Titans fall to the Colts at home 20-17 and drop to 1-4 on the season. Things are getting bleak quickly in Tennessee. Let's recap this game now. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver and I am doing a solo recap pod today. If you listen to the preview episode, you know Justin Melo is out today. It's Canadian Thanksgiving, so no podcast duo today. It's just me handling the recap here, and I am sad to say I have to recap this game. The Titans, as I said, lose 20-17. They could not put the game-winning drives together. They had many chances to do so. Let's go through and talk about what happened in this game, why the Titans could not pull off the comeback despite leading in the second half. So, game starts with the Colts going all the way down the field, 10 plays, 70 yards, put the Colts up 7-0 pretty quickly early in the game. Titans immediately turn around and go 3 and out, but the Titans have life after the Colts throw an interception on the second play of their next possession. Joe Flacco just too high for his target, Amani Hooker there for the interception, and the Titans respond immediately with a 3-play touchdown drive, hitting Tyler Boyd for 8 yards. Tony Pollard sprints through the line for 10, and then the Titans have a masterful touchdown here where they fake the bubble screen, they fake the quick flare-out screen pass, and instead Nick Westbrook-Akina leaks up the field. Levis finds him wide open in the end zone for a 9-yard touchdown. And on the first drive for the Titans, where they went 3 plays, 7 yards, they had a couple of these little flare-out, quick pass, bubble screen type looks. On the second drive, they had the first play to Tyler Boyd was the same look. So they come back with that look on first and goal, fake the screen. It's a really nice play design. Probably set up, on the game script. This is only the 6th play of the game for the Titans, so they script this little deception here, this counter off of the quick passes, and it leads to a wide open touchdown. Titans tie the game 7-7. Titans get a field goal on their next possession. Colts get a field goal right before halftime, and it's 10-10 at the half. Coming out of halftime, Tennessee goes on a 14-play, 70-yard drive. Tony Pollard did most of the work. They wind up in 3rd and 19 from the Colts' 23-yard line after multiple penalties. You have a Leroy Watson false start, puts the Titans in 1st and 15. Then a holding on Leroy Watson puts them in 1st and 25. They gain 6 yards on the next 2 plays, and on 3rd and 19, they call what is essentially a give-up play, a little draw run to Tony Pollard. Levis drops back and fakes like he's going to throw, and then hands it to Pollard, who bursts through the line 23 yards for the touchdown. An awesome play by Tony Pollard. Great blocking downfield by Cushenberry and the rest of the offensive line. And the Titans go up 17-10 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. Colts respond with a 15-play drive of their own. They convert a 4th down when they could have taken the points in Titans in field goal range. They get all the way down to the goal line and run it 3 straight times, and the Titans defensive line stonewalls Indianapolis' rushing attack there. Colts end up kicking the field goal on 4th and goal to cut the lead to 17-13. Titans get it back and try to run the ball 3 straight times, and they were running the ball very successfully in this game. They picked up 9 yards on the first 2 downs, but on 3rd and 1, Tony Pollard is stuffed, and the Titans have to punt the ball back to Indianapolis, and Indianapolis responds with an 11-play, 75-yard touchdown drive, helped out by a lot of penalties on the Titans. The Titans end up with multiple interceptions in this game that were negated by penalties, and on this particular drive, it was L'Jarius Sneed contacting Alec Pierce down the field on a deep downfield throw way before the ball got there. It was a good call, and we'll get to the officiating in this game in a bit, but this one was a good call and puts the Colts in position at the 22-yard line, and they score a handful of plays later with Michael Pittman going up and making an incredible touchdown catch over good coverage from L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed just cannot get the ball out. Pittman, with his size and strength, goes up, high points the ball, and manages to come down with the catch. Colts go up 20-17. The Titans then had 4 drives where all they needed was a field goal with 7.5 minutes left. The first one is a 24-second drive, 3 straight incompletions, and the Titans have to punt the ball back. And this was the drive where Calvin Ridley had a chance to make a catch over the middle of the field. He sort of bobbles the ball before the Colts defender comes in and punches it out, incomplete pass. And on the next play, DeAndre Hopkins is mugged down the field. No flag on this one. Titans have to punt punt it away. A horrible missed call there that really could have changed the outcome of this game. But the Titans force a quick 3 and out. They get the ball back with 5.5 minutes remaining in the game. And on the second play of this drive, Levis looking deep for Calvin Ridley, throws it way too late, and Julian Blackmon playing center field comes across the field to make the interception right in front of the receiver and gets his feet down in bounds before going out. Horrible play for Will Levis, a bad play for the Titans. It puts them really with their backs against the wall. So with 5 minutes left, the Colts have the ball. And they go 3 and out again with 2 deep passes that Joe Flacco cannot complete. Overshoots Alec Pierce, who was open deep down the field on 3rd and 7. Titans get another chance, this time with just under 4 minutes to play. They have the ball at their own 6-yard line. On 3rd down, Will Levis finds Tyler Boyd for a first down conversion. He hits Boyd again on the next play to set up 2nd and 7, but then Levis again looking for Ridley, cannot connect. On 3rd down, looking for Hopkins, cannot connect. And on 4th and 7 at their own 25-yard line, with just 2:25 to play and 2 timeouts, the Titans punt it away. I think this was a crucial mistake by Brian Callahan. The Colts end up getting a first down on another amazing catch by Michael Pittman, closely contested by L'Jarius Sneed. And again, Michael Pittman is able to just use his strength to hold on to the ball, gets the necessary first down that allows Indianapolis to wind the clock all the way down to just 22 seconds left when they punt it. The punt pins the Titans inside their own 3-yard line. And again, with so little time remaining and no timeouts, it was basically over here. That punt play took 10 seconds. So the Titans have 12 seconds at their own 3-yard line to try to get a field goal at least. And they run a little crazy lateral play, and it ends up not going hardly anywhere. Will Levis gets pummeled at the end of the play trying to pick up one of the laterals, and Titans lose 20-17. So let's talk about some of the key plays in this game. I want to talk about the pass interference calls in this game because, like I said, the Titans had 2 interceptions overturned or negated by defensive penalties. The first one, Amani Hooker comes crashing into the tight end. I think it was Mo Alley Cox or somebody for the Colts, and they're able to get the interception off a tipped ball. But Amani Hooker was there way early. They call the pass interference there against Hooker. It takes the interception off the board. That was the right call. A little bit later in the game, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is called for pass interference or illegal contact and turns around and makes an incredible interception in the end zone. This play, this call, I do not agree with at all. If they're going to call Jarvis Brownlee Jr. for this, I mean, it was contact, no doubt about it, but both the receiver and the defensive back were contacting each other, hand fighting. It's the type of call you see on almost every downfield pass that is well defended, with the cornerback and the wide receiver just going back and forth. And I can't believe they called a penalty on this play. Jarvis Brownlee makes an incredibly athletic interception, and it doesn't count because of the penalty. And fine, if that's a penalty, that's fine. There was contact. I'll accept it. But if that's a penalty, then the DeAndre Hopkins play where he gets mugged on the 3rd and 10 has got to be, or 3rd and 7, whatever it was, has got to be a penalty as well. And they don't call anything there. I think it was 3rd and 10. Yes. So 3rd and 10, DeAndre Hopkins not necessarily open. The pass maybe a bit high and inside, not quite on target anyway. But I do think it was on target enough that if there's not the blatant pass interference where DeAndre Hopkins is getting his arm pulled back around the side of his body, that he could maybe go up and make a nice catch on an inaccurate ball. Instead, it falls incomplete and there's no flag. Again, I think this could have really changed the outcome of the game. Now, it depends if you think that Will Levis could have led the touchdown drive from that point on. So let's talk about Will Levis's play in this game because it was not particularly impressive really in any way. He finishes 16 of 27 for 95 yards. The touchdown that I mentioned to Nick Westbrook-Akina, the interception that I mentioned deep down the field looking for Calvin Ridley, finished with 3.5 yards per attempt. 3.5 yards per attempt. Joe Flacco averaged 5.0 yards per attempt with 189 yards on 38 attempts. That's not very good. But the Titans average 5.2 yards per carry, and they average only 3.5 yards per attempt. It was clear to me in this game that Brian Callahan called this in every way possible to try to hide and help his quarterback with short throws, lots of run plays, a heavy dose of run plays in this game. Titans run it 28 times and pass 27 times, but that's despite being down for the last 7 minutes of the game with 4 different drives and chances to go take a lead or get a tying field goal where they're in obvious pass situations with the clock ticking down and trailing, and they still end up running the ball more than they throw it. I think this was, again, it was a designed approach by Brian Callahan to try and hide his quarterback as much as possible, not ask Will Levis to do anything other than basically manage the game and run the offense as smoothly as possible. And it didn't work out. It was working for a bit. When you had a 17-10 lead, it was working when the run game was going and you were able to overcome those penalties and get that long drive together to start the second half and get points on the board. Yeah, then it was working. But then your defense failed you, and your offense also failed your defense with multiple 3-and-outs, some that didn't even take hardly any time off the clock. That really hurts your defense's ability because it just keeps giving the Colts more and more chances. And then the defensive penalties that really helped the Colts get down the field on their touchdown drive. And if you look at the penalties in this game, Titans, 11 penalties for 113 yards. Indianapolis, 5 penalties for 40 yards. Was the officiating inconsistent? Should that DeAndre Hopkins play have been pass interference? Yes to both of those things. But at the same time, it wasn't so poorly called as to be an 11 penalty for 113 yard to 5 penalty for 40 yard differential. Like, it wasn't that poorly called. It was just a sloppy game from the Titans. Leroy Watson with 3 penalties, all the penalties on the defense over in contacting receivers and tight ends down the field. It really put the Titans in a tough position, but Will Levis couldn't do enough to overcome all that. And at this point, I don't know where Titans fans are at with Will Levis. He finishes with 95 yards in this game. I mean, that's not going to be a winning recipe unless you're getting scores from your special teams and your defense. Throwing the ball for 95 yards on 27 attempts is not going to get it done. And so we know that Brian Callahan said Will Levis is going to continue to start for the rest of the season, that they're using this season to see what they have in Will Levis. And I almost think you just have to stick with him at this point, because if you go to Mason Rudolph, you risk him playing you out of a top 5 pick. And at this point, the Titans need that top 5 pick because they got to take a chance on another quarterback next season. That's where I'm at with Will Levis. You just don't see him doing anything to elevate the players around him, to overcome the circumstances around him. The offensive line played a lot better today. He did not take a sack, which I guess is an improvement, but I think it's more because the offensive line played a lot better. Even with Leroy Watson committing those 3 penalties, coming in at right tackle, he was mostly good outside of the penalties. But Will Levis was not. And let's talk about Calvin Ridley. 8 targets, 0 catches. This is the first time in the Titans-Oilers franchise history a player has had 8 or more targets and not caught a pass. Only the 13th time this has happened in the history of the NFL. Is this Calvin Ridley's fault? Is this Will Levis's fault? Is it the offense's fault? Look, Calvin Ridley had at least one play that he should have made the catch on, and that was the play right before the DeAndre Hopkins interception. But it's not like he was just dropping balls everywhere. It's also not like he was wide open and Will Levis missing him. It seemed like Will Levis, every time he targeted him, was trying to fit it into a tight window, and Ridley couldn't come up with the pass, or the throw wasn't accurate enough. But if these two guys can't get on the same page, you pay Calvin Ridley $92 million over 4 years to come in here and be a difference maker at wide receiver. And he is not a difference maker right now. He has 9 catches in 5 games on the season. This is not working the way things are currently constructed. And you have to wonder if it's on Brian Callahan, the play caller, if it's on Will Levis, the quarterback, if they just haven't developed a connection that they really need to develop. But at this point, you're sitting at 1-4. You have the Lions and the Bills coming up on the schedule. You're staring 1-6 down in the face. Like, this is not a good situation for the Titans right now, and I don't really know where you go from here. So let's hit one of our segments here. We're gonna hit I'll Drink to That, sponsored by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville. And there's not a whole lot to drink to, but I will drink to the Titans running game, because I think Tony Pollard has been the bright spot on this Titans offense. The Tony Pollard in this game, 17 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. He had the play on 3rd and 19 where he takes it 23 yards to the house. That was an incredible play by him and by the offensive line. And this is the only thing working for the Titans right now is the run game. They finished with 146 yards on the ground on 28 carries, 5.2 yards per carry. Compare that to the Colts, who finished with 80 yards on 28 carries, 2.9 yards per carry. The running game works, and if the Titans can continue to lean on the running game and the defense, they may be able to squeak out some wins against teams of the Colts caliber. Is this going to work against the Bills and the Lions? I don't know. It can if you can control the clock and the possession of the game and keep the ball away from the Lions offense and away from the Bills offense, then maybe this could work. But as it stands now, it didn't work today because when you did get down, you almost have to go away from the running game with that little time left and putting all that pressure on Will Levis. But I will drink to Tony Pollard's performance and the signing that Rand Carthon made, bringing Tony Pollard in. He looks electric. He has the juice. He looks like a different player from the one who played the first half of last year, recovering from his gruesome leg injury. So I will drink to Tony Pollard. I'll drink to that. Brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or finding something unique for a special occasion. From birthday parties to milestone celebrations to everyday moments, Sinkers can help with the right drink for every occasion. And if you head to the sinkersbeverages.com website or check the link in this podcast description, you can join the In Crowd. In Crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. All right, now time to hit our surging performance, brought to you by Chris Gates Fitness and his online fitness training camp. The surging performer today is Jarvis Brownlee Jr., the rookie the Titans drafted this year, filling in at cornerback for the injured Chidobe Awuzie. Had a pretty outstanding game. And Jarvis Brownlee, for a fifth-round pick, to come in here and play this well and look like a starting caliber player in just his fifth game is really impressive. In this one, he made numerous plays, was tasked with covering Josh Downs on multiple occasions. Josh Downs has been the weapon for Indy's offense. Him and Joe Flacco just have an incredible connection. And yeah, there was the 4th and 1 play that the Colts converted on one of their field goal drives that made it 17-13. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. did get beat on that play. He was called for the penalty that negated his own interception, which I question that call. I don't think that one should have been called. I think the contact there was negligible, that should not have been called. But overall, he had a great game. He was aggressive coming up in support on the screen plays in the run game. He was breaking up balls. He was had sticky coverage. He plays with a feisty, aggressive mentality that you just love to see from a rookie cornerback. So the surging performer this week, without a doubt, is Jarvis Brownlee Jr. And I think overall the defense in this game played pretty well. I mean, they gave up only 20 points. And 7 of those points came because of just a slew of penalties that led the Colts all the way down the field. They didn't have a sack in this game, but you had pressure from Harold Landry. You had pressure from Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, I think, played his best game of the season today. He had a tackle for loss. Amani Hooker had a tackle for loss. Harold Landry had 2 tackles for loss. Kenneth Murray had a tackle for loss. L'Jarius Sneed had a tackle for loss. 6 tackles for loss on the day, and those negative plays are huge, plus the Amani Hooker interception. Like, the defense played pretty well overall. They just needed more support from the offense in the second half. The offense had one great drive in the second half to open the third quarter, but then they couldn't put anything else together for the rest of the game, and that just put way too much pressure on this defense. But anyway, surging performer, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., and honorable mention, the rest of the defense entirely. Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons clogging up the middle. Kenneth Murray played a pretty good game overall. He did get burned pretty bad on a one long run where he just filled the wrong gap, but didn't hurt the Titans that bad overall. Wasn't like beat in coverage for a touchdown in this game or anything like that. Ernest Jones leads the team in tackles with 10. Overall, a great game for the defense, just not good enough. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr., our surging performer. That was Surging Performance, brought to you by Chris Gates and his online fitness membership called Training Camp. You must be a big football fan if you listen to this podcast, but I'm sure you have health and fitness goals too. So listen up, because Chris Gates' Online Fitness Training Camp is a monthly fitness program designed specifically for football fans. And it's honestly like nothing I've ever seen before. Just how much you get with this monthly subscription is going to blow your mind. Now, you should know, Chris has been coaching people for years, and he's a massive football fan. So he decided to create this community called Training Camp that blends fitness and sports together to help people like you achieve your fitness goals while connecting with a community of sports fans who all are trying to accomplish the same thing. So whether you struggle to stay consistent in the past, whether you felt confused about what exercise you actually need to do, or if you just need more accountability to keep you on track, Training Camp is here to help. When you join Training Camp, you'll get top-notch coaching from Chris, delivering monthly workout plans to help remove all that guesswork from your exercising. And you can just show up, put in the work, and you'll have confidence that what you're doing is working. These workout plans are customizable. They're designed to fit a busy lifestyle so you can stay consistent and see progress. And you'll also be able to join, like I mentioned, the best part about training camp is the private online community where members can gather for support. They participate in challenges. You can win prizes and more. Training camp is centered around sustainable results. It's not a crash diet. It's not an extreme routine. It allows you to drink beer, go to football games and tailgate in the fall, and continue to still make progress anyway, because training camp will teach you how to do that. You get all this for less than your weekly coffee run. In fact, right now, Chris is offering a massive discount. If you sign up this week, you will get your first month of online fitness training camp for just $10. That is 80% off the regular monthly price. So head over to chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp or hit the link in this podcast description to sign up and use the code AUDIBLE, that's AUDIBLE, as in the Music City Audible, to get 80% off your first month. All right, I'm about ready to wrap up this podcast, but as you know, after a loss, we like to hit one last segment. It's called Silver Linings. So what silver linings can we take out of this game? Not a lot, to be honest, but I think we're starting to get our answer on Will Levis, and that is a silver lining, because the worst place to be as a football organization, as a franchise, is to not know if your quarterback is the guy or not the guy. And if you had to decide after 6 weeks, after 5 games, I think you pretty clearly say Will Levis is not the guy. And the closer we get to a clear answer to this question, the better the future of the Titans organization is. So this may not be what you want to hear. We're staring down the barrel of a lost season right now. Titans at 1-4 is not a good place to be. It's a hole that's almost impossible to climb out of if you're talking playoffs. I don't really see a way for this team if they can't even beat a banged up Colts squad at home coming off a bye. Who are they going to beat? That's how I feel about this team right now. So does this sound like a silver lining? Maybe not. But the silver lining is Titans could end up with a very high pick in the draft and their answer on the franchise quarterback, which could position them to bring in someone else next offseason to take on that mantle of being the next franchise guy. Now, this quarterback class has a lot of question marks. We're not going to get into that right now, but I do think that that is the one silver lining here. Now, as I close this thing out, I want to talk a little bit about Brian Callahan's play calling, because I've seen a lot of people online lamenting the constant number of runs, this play calling stinks. What are the Titans doing? They're not being aggressive enough. Now they're throwing 3 straight passes. They're being too aggressive. Like, here's the thing. Brian Callahan is trying to mitigate a bad quarterback situation. And so I don't have a problem with the way he called this game. He's trying to do everything he can to help Will Levis. He's trying to keep the team in 3rd and shorts, which they were very successful at doing today. The running game worked very well. They avoided the negative plays for the most part. When they did have negative plays, they were able to overcome them and even score a touchdown on that one drive with the huge negative plays, the penalties that pushed them back. So I don't have a problem with how he called this game. You saw what happened late in the second half when it had to turn to the Will Levis show and you had to rely on his arm to move the ball. It just didn't happen. It didn't work at all. If you had tried that early in the game, you might have been down a much larger hole than you were at 20-17 towards the end. You might have been down by a lot of points, because I don't know if the Titans offense would have moved the ball at all. I don't know if you get those 14 play touchdown drives if you're asking Will Levis to throw the ball repeatedly in downfield, attacking a secondary that he simply had no success attacking in this game. So again, I don't have a problem with the way Brian Callahan called the game. You need a quarterback that can execute an offense at a highly functional level, and I don't think Will Levis is that quarterback. Maybe he can be. I'm not closing the book on him right now. We're going to have a lot more games this season to judge Will Levis off of, but if you had to make that judgment right now, I think it's pretty clear where you would come down. So that's where I'm at with this team. I do not have a lot of hope for this season. I just think the Titans are not a very good football team, and there's a decent amount of talent on the defensive side of the ball. There's even a decent amount of talent on the offensive side of the ball. But if you don't have a quarterback that can win you ball games in this league, you're not going anywhere in the year 2024. So that will do it for this episode. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, the Music City Audible Podcast. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and turn on channel alerts to get a notification every time we drop a new video. And drop a comment below. Where are you at with this team? You going to keep watching the rest of the season? You know I am, because I got to cover the team. But if you're ready to tune out, I honestly can't blame you. I just hope you'll keep coming back to the Music City Audible, giving us your views, giving us your likes to support the channel as we try to cover this team through what appears to be a disaster season unfolding. And thanks again to Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville and to Chris Gates Fitness and his online fitness training camp. Justin and I will be back next week to preview the Titans' next game. Like I said, they have the Bills next, followed by the Lions, both games on the road. But we will be back with a special guest next week to preview Titans at Bills. So y'all stay safe out there until then. And remember, despite as hard as it is right now, remember to tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.